Hello guys, welcome everybody to the Buzzing with Barça podcast. This is a new episode and we have a lot to speak about, a lot of topics to cover. We here have Kai and Ethan. How are you guys?
Yes, I'm good, thanks. Looking forward again today.
Good.
Awesome. Okay, we will start with the Dynamo Kiev reactions. The game that finished in a 2-1 victory. I have to say personally that my reaction was really sad to this match. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been so depressed after a win. What did you guys think? Let's start with Kai.
Let's say that the first 20 minutes I was like, okay, we're missing chance, but everything's all right. And the more we went into the match, the more depressed I became, where to the point, I'll talk about later, but to the point where literally we got dominated by the C team of Dynamo Kiev, which for me should have been a must-win. So, as you said, it's for me pretty depressing to see, without disrespecting Kiev, them dominating us.
Yeah, I agree with Kai 100%. We started off well, first 10 minutes. We didn't take our chances. We should have had about 3, because obviously, as we remember, Bedri hit the crossbar and then bounced on the line, and Griezmann, I don't even know how he missed that. It was awful in my opinion. And ever since that, I don't know, we just kind of, as the match went on, we just kind of dipped a bit. And as Kai said, it wasn't even Dynamo Kiev's proper team. Like, it was 11 players had been out with COVID. So we were playing practically against their B team or C team, and they were still dominating parts of the game. They had many shots. Ter Stegen had to come to the save again. And we didn't take our chances, although at the end we started to revitalise a bit, and we had more shots, obviously, with Piqué scoring his second goal. I think we should have scored more. But again, the chances that we didn't take failed us, and Dynamo scored, and it wasn't really a good match. I was very disappointed with the team afterwards. Yeah,
I totally agree. Personally, in the first few minutes, I thought, well, this is going to be easy. But it's okay, because I'm a fan. I'm allowed to think that. But I think that the players also thought about it, and they thought it will be an easy task, an easy game. And this is where they had their mistake, because sooner or later, Dynamo Kiev started to play football, and they started to gain possession. And our pressing, our play was terrible, actually. I think that they thought that they will win this game without even playing. And as the match went by, it looked very, very a lot tougher than what we expected. Like you said, they were missing, I think, 13 players because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and it was a very hard game to watch. I mean, we missed a lot of chances. Griezmann, we will talk about him later. He missed a lot of chances, and it looked very, very bad for us. Personally, I think that this game shows a lot about how many problems Koeman's team actually has. I will also talk about it later. I think that there are some players that should not play together. I think that I believe that players should play when they are better fit. And we have many players that play like Griezmann, like Busquets. They play without any connection to their fitness level or their confidence. What do you think, Ethan?
Yeah, I agree. Koeman, for some reason, he has this fascination with Busquets I've never seen before. Every single match he is playing, he doesn't give him a break. It's the same with Messi. Like, I personally didn't really want Messi to start this match, because I think there's an international week coming up. We've had a tough schedule the last month, and he keeps on playing Messi game after game. And now Messi is 33 years old. He's not prime. He's not the prime he used to be. So he's more susceptible to injury and that. But Koeman keeps on continuing him, and Griezmann as well. Griezmann, as we know, has been poor for the last couple of months, and for some reason Koeman's still giving him chances, I believe, ahead of other players who are developing, and it's just affecting the other players' progression, because especially using Griezmann again, he drifted again to the right, and as we know, he is useless in that position, in my opinion. Like, it's virtually non-existent, that right wing. But I don't know. I'm quite disappointed in how stubborn with like Griezmann and Busquets and Messi.
Yeah. Kai?
Yeah, I mean, I'll sum up. The whole Kiev game is basically after 20th minute, the last point we got really a big high chance, is basically seeing that there will be a car crash and you cannot do anything. This was literally my whole...
Okay, we will move to the next topic. It's related to the game against Dynamo Kiev, and we're talking about Koeman's substitutions. What did you think about it? Let's start with Ethan this time.
Well, I think, to be fair, it did change the game a bit. Like, Sergio Roberto came on in his natural position in midfield, and I think he brought in players like Trincao and that kind of like, and Dembele, and that added like we were missing a bit attacking-wise. There wasn't a really, I don't know, towards the middle of the end of the match, it would almost look like some of the players were tired. And I think like putting Dembele, even though he played on the left wing, he still did actually quite good. I think Dembele had a good match. He nearly scored that top left corner, but it was saved by the keeper, who had a superb match. And I think the substitutions really helped the team. And I'm glad he actually acted early and changed something that was wrong. But yeah, so that's what I personally think. I think putting on Dembele, Trincao and Roberto, especially in that midfield position, was a good decision. Like, still keeping Ricky off, I was a bit disappointed, but I think the substitutions worked out in our favour.
And Alenia, what did you think about him? First minutes in the season?
Yeah, I like Alenia. I think he deserves more minutes. As soon as he came on, like as soon as he entered the pitch, he already started giving commands to other players, which is something I like and I noticed about him. He's got that kind of, he wants to be like a leader, you know, he wants to control the game and that. So I was quite pleased with it. Obviously, he wasn't on the pitch that long, so I can't really make a full assessment of him. But of what I saw, I think, yeah, I hope he does really get more minutes under Koeman, but I doubt it because he'll probably still revert to Busquets or Pjanic to start every single match. So,
yeah. And Kai, what did you think about it?
Well, as every time, that's the part of Koeman that I would literally throw outside of this road if it was possible. Unfortunately, it's not. Firstly, yes, Roberto is in the midfield, but why do you bring on Roberto rather than Ricky or, as you said, Alenia? Because for me, this first means that Koeman is showing Ricky that, you know what, Roberto and Alenia are both above you, so I'm not giving you at any point any minutes. That's the first thing. And secondly, this means for Koeman that Roberto brings something that Ricky doesn't bring, which I would like to know, but yeah, which sort of sorcery is that possible? And secondly, which I said every game and I'll say it again, he doesn't change the system. When will you bring players to have superiorities in the midfield? Never, probably not. The only point we got a player to play in the lines was Alenia, and that was at the 80th minute. I mean, I'm not trying to say that, come on, murder him, but this is crime to football. I'm sorry, you cannot make the same error once again. You can bring the best millions of players. If you're not going to have the midfield, you're not going to win at Barça. It's as simple as that.
Sure. This is the Barça way of playing. Koeman should know that. I mean, possession playing, passing the ball, controlling the midfield. It's the base, the foundation of Barça, the foundation of our style of playing. It's been like that since Johan Cruyff as a player, since Rinus Michels, and it should stay like that. For me, I do think that Sergio Roberto as a midfielder does offer something that he doesn't offer as a right back, which is speed, pace in the midfield. And I did like to see it because he's some sort of a box-to-box player. And either Busquets or Pjanic are not playing in that style. So I do think that the club does need a Baquero, but and he is one. And I also said earlier in the other episode that I believe that Sergio Roberto, if you want to keep him as a rotational player, keep him as some sort of a midfielder. But I don't think that he should play as a right back. I would actually bring back Emerson to compete with Dest for the right back position, and play Sergio Roberto as a rotational midfielder. I do think that he offers something that Busquets or Pjanic doesn't, but I do agree that I would prefer Ricky, of course, to play. Although I think that playing Ricky as a defensive midfielder is a bit unfair towards him, because he's not that kind of player. I mean, it will be pretty unfair. If you're playing with Ricky Puig or even Alenia, I think you should change. I do agree that you should change the formation to 4-3-3 because it won't work the other way around. This is my... And with the buzzer, we will move to the next topic. We will talk about Leo Messi. He scored another goal from the penalty spot. He's still waiting for his first goal in an open game. And also on Twitter, on social media, people talk about how he didn't press in the last minutes. What did you think about it? We'll start with Kai.
Well, basically, what I'd say is that firstly, when we come to this pressing scene, it once again, as always when they critique one of our best players, it's literally totally out of context. If you look at the context, it's the 93rd minute. Now, please tell me how many players actually pressed in the 93rd minute. I'm not sure there are that many.
When they're living.
Anyways, secondly, I mean, for me, his goal drought, firstly, is because before the system used to rely on Busquets and on Messi. Now you have another system, which means that Messi needs to understand what the actual hell is going on, because nobody really knows, or doesn't seem to know at least. And the point is that Messi, when you look at the organization, before he had someone like Suarez to supply those goals, or at least someone who knew what he was doing in order himself to get into the scoring positions. Now he neither has Suarez nor players where he has really a good connection with them. The only one is Ansu, and it's still sometimes getting hard. So for me, it does remain a problem of system and of Messi's mental, because I don't feel he's been the same since the 8-2 defeat. I just feel that, like, mentally he hasn't been the same.
Yeah, I agree with Kai. I think it's a problem with the system, but I think it's a problem with Messi himself. Like, fair enough, like, he's been very unlucky. He's had many chances. He had many chances to score versus Madrid. They didn't go in. Again, yesterday he nearly scored that free kick, but the keeper had a very good match. But I think most importantly, personally, and this might people might disagree with me, but I personally think that Messi does not really want to be in Barcelona anymore. Like, obviously it was clear he wanted to leave this summer, but like, I don't know, I'm just, as Kai said, he's not been the same since that 8-2 defeat, and I think that the summer saga didn't let him go to City. I think that's really affected him. Of course he's going to give his best. Of course he still loves the club. Of course he will love the club even when he leaves, because it's obviously his life. But I just don't see him the same. I don't see him as motivated as he used to be. It could be the system more, however, but I think it's more of a personal problem. I think his mental state is not all there, and that's affecting his performances. So if he went to a team like City, I think he could recover his best form, because he'll actually probably would rely on him in City, and he'll probably be used in that free role, so they could get the best out of him in another team. But I just don't think he's that happy in Barcelona this year. So yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I totally agree. But in my opinion, I think that it's pretty unfair towards Messi. I mean, there are human standards and there are standards of Leo Messi. People got used to it. I mean, for 8 years that he's doing everything in Barcelona. He's dribbling, he's passing, he's assisting, he's scoring goals, and he's basically doing everything for everyone. And it came to the point that when he needed the club to help him and let him leave because he didn't feel welcomed and he didn't feel well with the board, they didn't let him do this. And they brought a coach that tries to get a new system, which is legitimate. I mean, it's okay. But I think that it's a combination of two things. It's one, his mental situation that he's not really happy in Barcelona right now. And the other thing is the professional thing, the technical thing, that he is not playing. He doesn't know what to do. The whole team doesn't know how to make the best out of Leo Messi. And but it would be very, very unfair towards him, because even so, and with all of these bad things, he was very, very close in every match to score 2 or 3 goals. I mean, he missed chances that we got used to it, that he's scoring like without even trying. These were easy goals of Leo Messi, and I believe that it will take maybe 1 or 2 weeks, but he will return to score those goals. All right, moving on to the next topic, player salary reduction. As we all know, the club, the current transition board, and currently negotiating a salary reduction. But we also hear about the players not sure how legitimate this board is to do these negotiations. And we have the bankruptcy scare as well. So let me know what you think, Ethan.
I think, was it today the deadline that if they hadn't had reduced the 190 million, we could potentially go bankrupt?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't really know how accurate that is. I don't think a team like Barcelona would be able, like, obviously it could go into bankrupt, but it's too big, I think. I think people would get involved, or things would be put to ensure that a team like Barcelona doesn't go into bankruptcy. But yeah, that's another fact. I think the fact that this temporary management board doesn't really, like Carlos Busquets, he's not really someone who knows how to manage a team. No, I think he was something to do with economics, I think. So he's not really known to manage a team or to lead a management board. So that's why I think maybe they don't really see him as a serious figure. So I think they're being smart in waiting for the new president to come in, because the new board would be more competent than this management board, because, as you say, it's only temporary. It's made up of people who are not really specialists in their own position. But I don't know if the danger of the bankruptcy is actually true and we're about to go bankrupt, and if the players don't really do anything, I think they're going to have to force to agree on a salary cut in order for Barcelona to be saved in the long term. But yeah, I don't really know how true the media is being, so I don't know. We'll see over the couple. I think it's been extended now for a week, the agreement. But I just want elections to be called straight away. I don't know why they're still trying to extend it.
Yeah, the last time that there were a transition board, they set up the election date like immediately, like 1 or 2 days after they were elected. They were in the office. And this time it's been a week and nothing.
True. Well, maybe it could be because they're trying to balance the books. I don't know. Maybe the debt is so big that they want to save time, or I don't know. But no one truly knows what's happening behind closed doors.
Yeah, Carlos Busquets is related to the Núñez administration of the 80s and the 90s, and we all know that they are connected somehow to De Rosell and Bartomeu. So he might just continue the work of Bartomeu on the board. So let's see where it's all going.
Exactly.
Kai, what do you think?
When I heard that they questioned their legitimacy, I totally agree. Because you basically have one guy who basically doesn't really know much about his actual position, and asks you, who you're a star or whatever, to your salary, and you're just like, why should I listen to you? Especially considering the first words I heard of Busquets, I remember, is when he said, we will continue the economic policy of the previous board and keep in contact. And I was like, is that a joke? Yeah. Am I supposed to take you seriously when you say that? I mean, in a certain sense, I totally get the players. Now, the question is, I don't really know how the players reason, in the sense that, do they see the thing in the same eye as us, which I very much doubt. So that's my question, is like, is it the players just, do they have different motives? Do they all agree on whether really, to what extent they actually doubt of his legitimacy? But I definitely agree that it does seem very weird that this board takes so much time for the elections. I mean, he told it would be like around, I think it was like in December or something. And I'm just like, I know there's COVID and blah, 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 but come on. If you're taking that long, you're either not very competent or you're hiding something, or both.
I think it's even later than the Christmas period, because I think...
Or that's what he said, at least in his interview.
Yeah, but I think Javi Miguel said something like the electoral process will start in the Christmas, but the actual elections will be held at the end of January. So that's even worse, because that means that this board can't even... I don't think it has the legitimacy to sign players or sell players. So that's going to stop the new management from making reinforcements, and then we're going to have another 6 months where we're only going to rely on players such as Piqué and Langley, and if one is injured, we're kind of screwed. And again, we need more players, we need more reinforcements, and we need players who are better than Langley, because I don't think Langley is a big...
Moving on to the next topic, Laporta is about to participate in the elections. It was not really final decision, but we all see this. He's about to offer himself as the next president of this club. What I would rather say right now, I know both of you, Kai and Ethan, are pro Victor Font. So I will start by saying this thing, as the older guy here, as the one who remembers the team that in the start of the millennium, he used to finish seasons in like fourth place of the La Liga. I do remember how Laporta took over this team. I do remember him as the best president of all times in this club. I do have great nostalgia towards him. I did meet him a year ago, and we had a great conversation that I published in the website. I think that he's an amazing person. I think that he was an awesome president. But let me just say that I am not sure that he has the same passion that he used to have. I mean, his candidacy in 2015 was pretty mediocre. Right now, he's still not saying anything about his possible board. He's not saying about his actions, and we might have elections in 3 weeks. But he is very, very popular in the streets of Barcelona, and if he is participating, I see him as a favorite, along with Victor Font. So, convince me.
Well,
let's start with Kai.
I would say that, as we all know, our team does need very good decisions right now, because as we said, when bankruptcy is scared, which means we do not have space for even a little error. So, to avoid errors, you need a plan. Now, with Font, I've already explained to my friend, and we all know, he has laid out his plan. Now, with Laporta, I haven't seen a plan. Like, the only thing we know about him is that there could be Alemany, and that's it. That's the whole thing. So, for me, it does seem almost riskier to actually vote him, in the sense that any decisions that could turn out to be wrong could prove out to be fatal to the future of our club. So I'd rather go for someone who actually does have a project, and that I know he has a project. I'm not saying Laporte doesn't have any. I'm just saying we have no clue what he's up to. We have no clue what he's going to do. So for me, you just need someone who has a plan. And especially considered Font hasn't laid out his candidacy in 2015, even though he could have, to me proves how much passion he has, just like Laporta had back in the day. Just as you agree, we don't really know passion-wise where Laporta really stands, but I do agree that I do believe he's still he does earn the right of being the best ever as of right now, and that he will be favorite if he lays out his candidacy.
Yeah,
all right,
I agree.
Ethan?
I think Laporta will be hands down favorite, but I think many people would vote for Laporta because obviously you've got nostalgia. Yeah, he turned Barcelona into the greatest team in the world. But what people have to realise is that the Barcelona team that was created under Guardiola and Laporta, that is potentially once in a century. Like, we had likes of Xavi, Iniesta, Puyol, Messi, Piqué, all at their peak. I don't know if we'll ever see that again. Potentially we could, maybe in the next, 20 or 30 years, but that was a different time. That's why I think Laporta, yeah, he was a very good president, by far the best we've ever had. But again, what helped him the most was the fact that Barcelona went through a very, very good era. And now I think the players that were in that team we don't have them in our current team at the moment. So putting Laporta in and thinking that he'll dramatically change the whole situation and we can start winning deep leaders and everything again, I think that's wrong to think like that. I think it's too nostalgic. He did it with a complete other set of players. Messi's no longer the Messi he used to be back then. So I want a president, a new president, a fresh one who actually knows the players inside out, has been planning a project for over 7 years, and as Kai said, refused to enter the 2015 one because...
Okay, we hit the buzzer and we'll move on to the next topic. Frankie de Jong, is he the center back that we need?
No.
Let's start with you, Kai.
I would say that the thing is, it's a great experiment. Don't get me wrong. It's great if you really don't have any defenders left and you really need to play him, for example, in the sense of discomfort or such situations. But on a regular basis, I don't think so. The reason being is that he didn't do badly. But the problem with De Jong essentially is that because he lacks certain defensive concepts, he leaves his own way too much, which means that often he was caught out of position. And if you look at Kiev's main attacks, they all came from this side. And that's not a coincidence. It's the fact that Frankie always goes higher up the pitch. And normally, of course, he's used to have someone behind him. But when he's a defender, there's no one behind him. So that's essentially, I think, he did okay, considering that he's not used to that position. But I don't think it's the long-term solution, especially when you consider in the market, there are so many defenders available.
Yeah, and as I agree with Kai, like many times De Jong likes to attack, so many times you'd see him out of position, and that obviously would need Dest to come in and try and cover. However, that would be dangerous on the counter-attack because it could be maybe 3-on-2 and De Jong would have to be tracking back because he's being caught off guard. But really, I think I don't think he's there for long term because the reason he was put in this defense anyways because I think Lenglet has a slight thigh problem. So I don't think Koeman was willing to risk Lenglet going out and getting injured, considering that we're low on centre-back. So I think it was just more of an experiment. Although De Jong, again, he didn't do that bad. He was actually quite good. Like, he was caught way too much many times out of his position. He used to bring the ball forward. Sometimes he would go in attack, and I don't really think he feels like 100. He can play as a centre-back, but I don't think he feels like he's 100% comfortable in that position. And therefore, I don't think we should just rely on him. I think we should go to the market, buy a proper defender, and then just use De Jong a bit further up the pitch. As Kai said before, he was caught out of position. I don't think he would be the solution for Barcelona.
Yeah, yesterday one of the first big chances of Dynamo Kiev was with him guarding the striker of them. I don't remember his name, but he was guiding him, like you said, like he's a midfielder and like there's someone else behind him. But the someone else behind him was the keeper, was Ter Stegen. So I mean, people said in the Twitter, I saw that they were saying like De Jong will be Koeman's Mascherano. Honestly, I didn't like Mascherano in the Pep days. I didn't like him as a center back. But De Jong is even worse in this position, in my opinion, because he is suitable in playing in this position. He did it in Ajax and in the Netherlands a few times, but he is more capable of doing this in games like yesterday, when the other team does not attack a lot. But when we saw that even yesterday, until when Dynamo Kiev started to attack, it was very hard to defend with him as a center back. So I think it's okay to try things, but I wouldn't want to see it. Like Ethan said before, I would rather see Lenglet as a rotational player. I would like to see proper two center backs, which are not Lenglet and Piqué. I would see Araujo as a center back, and I will add someone else like Eric Garcia as the second center back, and I think it will be a lot more stable defensive structure than playing with De Jong or someone else there. What do you guys think about our defense?
Really, right now, the biggest weakness in our team. We made many mistakes against Real Madrid, like especially the first goal from Valverde was a very bad positioning. So I think we definitely need reinforcement. I know Coburn speaks about a 9 and going for players like Depay, but I don't really think that's a really major issue. I think we should focus more on our defense, because I think it's quite weak right now. And if we play teams like Bayern, Liverpool, PSG, we're going to struggle at the back. Even Juventus, we struggled a lot. They scored. Thank God that Morata was offside, because if not, they would have scored 3 goals, like with that defense. So I don't know.
Moving on to the next topic. Okay, the usual topic: Griezmann and his confidence and his missing chances, and I don't know what to do with him. What will be his best position? What will he do in Barca? What is he doing in Barca? Why is he still here? Why is he playing? Why isn't he in the bench? What should we do? What should Koeman do? Help me. Start with Ethan.
We spoke about this topic so many times. It's going round and round. We say the same things. I think the shot that he missed, open goal, like that was I could have probably scored that. It was harder to miss that shot than actually score it. Yeah. So I just shows that is key for me to show how low he is in confidence. Yes, he scored against. He scored in the last match to make it 1-1. But again, you need more consistency. You can't say, "Oh, play Griezmann because he scored last match." It's not that. It's just Griezmann. He was virtually non-existent, and then he has one good chance, and he can score. He's a player like that. However, like he hasn't been the Griezmann that we know of, because obviously in Athletic Madrid he was a different player. No matter where he plays, we're demanding more from him, and he's not giving it. He complained a couple of weeks ago he's not being used properly, but even when he is used properly, he still doesn't convert his chances. He's missing too many chances, and I think that's enough. I think he should start on the bench. He shouldn't be a starting. I'd prefer someone like Dembele or Trincao or something to actually start ahead of Griezmann alongside obviously Messi, Pedri, and Ansu Fati. I don't think Griezmann should start because we paid so much for him and he's just not delivering the chances that we want. And in the summer transfer, if a good offer comes in, I'd sell him straight away, because not only would we alleviating ourselves from Griezmann's massive wages, but we'll also be selling a player who from the start was never going to fit in this system. So obviously buying him we knew it was going to be a waste of money. We knew we didn't need him. And I think it would be much beneficial to sell him and actually use that money to buy a player that would strengthen in that position and would actually score and demand what we want from him.
Okay, so it's time for me to throw myself out of the window. That's the first thing. Second thing is it's also time to curse. And first thing, I just felt like you. It's literally, I remember in the first season, I was like, he's gonna do well as a right winger because his intelligence, he's going to adapt, even though I didn't support the signing. Well, then he became a right winger, and then I wanted to kill myself. Okay, then he became a so-called 9, and I thought that if we do a 4-3-3 with him as a false 9, it would work. And then I wanted to commit the genocide, which was even worse. Anyways, so not only before, I actually was happy at the beginning of the match, even though he missed the chance, because I was like, okay, before he didn't score because he didn't get in these positions. Now he is in these good positions and he wants me, I don't know, just call me the genocide around the whole Germany or something. Well, I don't know what's happening. So at this point, I have no clue what to do with him. I don't know, because at this point, there's nothing to explain why he's failing. I mean, I know his confidence, but if you bench him, he's gonna fail on confidence. If you don't bench him, he's still gonna fail on confidence. So it's literally, as I said, you watch a car crash and you cannot do anything about it. It's exactly the same thing. I'm just watching him just aimlessly going as an almost half defensive midfielder considering the positions. thank God. Why am I doing these past maps? I don't even know. Anyway, every time it's the same thing. Every time I have to curse him. Every time I wonder what the hell is he doing in this team.
Yeah, I mean, in the 60 minutes that he played, he touched the ball like 20 times, which is very, very little, very, very small amount of
and not all successful. This is about the same amount as Alenia did in 10 minutes.
No. Yeah. So I mean, it's okay to talk about his confidence. It's okay that Koeman is trying to settle him in the system, but a player that arrived for 120 million euros plus an amount that they paid to settle down Atletico, but he arrived for a lot of amount of money, and he's not like Dembele, who arrived as a 19 years old kid. You can't rely on his confidence and say, okay, give him time. It's been more than a year now, and he's not settling in the system. I agree. He's a world champion. He's almost 30 years old. It's time for him to start in the bench and let him earn his place. Let him play as a sub, and maybe he will do well. I don't know, but and we hit the buzzer. Moving on to the next topic. So Ter Stegen is finally back. He played against Dynamo Kiev after months and months of being out with injury, and boy, I think that he was our best player in this match. It says a lot about how bad we played, but it also says a lot about how good is Ter Stegen. And when you remember the failure, the mistake of Neto against Alaves, it's even more than that. So what do you think about him returning? Let's start with Kai.
I'm allowed to be positive and negative at the same time. So the good thing is he's back. The bad thing is, why the hell do we need him when we're playing Dynamo Kiev for the 300th time? First, there was like 300 times where I thought it would be goal, and somehow it did not end up. I have no clue how, but thank you, Ter Stegen. And secondly, Ter Stegen taught Neto what does it mean to actually coordinate with your players and do a 1v1, which Neto doesn't know how to do, or he's flying to the moon or something else. I still have no idea how the goal against Alaves happened. Not ask me, because it's out of science. And finally, thank God he's back, because finally I can actually feel like when there is a 1v1 that I do not have to kill myself in order to hope to stay alive.
Yeah, I agree. I think it was a very good match by Ter Stegen. I think firstly, I didn't want him to start because obviously he had come back for 3 months. He was out. I think Neto was doing, although he made that mistake against Alaves, I think he was quite a good keeper overall for his couple of games that we used him. But I thought it was quite risky to automatically put Ter Stegen as a starter when he hasn't played for 3 months. But he proved me wrong. Yesterday he played amazingly. He saved a lot of shots. We could have conceded more. And yeah, I'm just generally happy he's back, and I hope he can continue this form that he's been having for the last 2 years. A bit worried that we're relying on him too much again. Like, I hope this season is not one where Ter Stegen will save us from many matches, because the fact that we're using Ter Stegen as to save us from many matches just shows how weak our defense is. Like, for example, when Valdez was there, yes, he saved, but we didn't have to rely on him because we had such a good defense that many teams that would play Barca wouldn't register that many shots against him. But like, it's almost expected that in every match, no matter who we play, the opponent will score a goal because of how many chances they're going to get and how weak our defense is. So again, I'm just hoping that this season, especially from January onwards, that we won't need to rely on Ter Stegen too much. Because I think, again, the pressure on him is way too high, and this shouldn't happen. We should have a solid defence, and Ter Stegen should just complement that defence. So,
yeah, I think we saw it against Liverpool and against Bayern, because it gets to a point in the season that he can't save our asses as much as he does. I mean, he's doing so well all of the season, but there will always be 1 or 2 matches that he can't cope with the pressure. And I totally agree that the fact that we saw him saving so many chances against Dynamo Kiev, it shows a lot about how bad is our defense. And the best thing that we can do is making him work less. Honestly, I do understand why he played yesterday. I think that Koeman wanted to let him start playing in what he thought maybe that it will be an easier match, but it wasn't an easier match, and it's because of our team and how they played. But I think this is the logic behind playing him yesterday. He thought that maybe Dynamo Kiev will play ultra defensive play and they will not get many chances. It didn't happen. They did have a lot of chances, and we had Ter Stegen back, and we have him in his best. I hope that he will stay like this, and like Ethan said, I hope that Barca will not have to use him that much. It will happen from January on. Honestly, I think I would love to hear your opinion, but honestly, I would love to see Barca enjoying this good form of Neto and getting a good price for him and sell him in January, and then we can promote Iñaki Peña as the second goalkeeper. I think that he is ready, but we will have to sit and wait. Moving on to the next topic, let's start talking about Betis. When we talk about Betis, we will start with few words that any one of you will say, and then let me hear from you. What would you like the Barca to start with? Which will be the starting lineup?
Well, the starting lineup
we will start with
Ethan this time. I'd rather have maybe obviously with I don't know, with Pedri out. Maybe play. I want Trincao Dembele on the left. Probably not start Pedri this match because I'd probably start Pedri as a centre attacking mid. I'd rest Messi in this match. Start with left wing Ansu Fati, and you know what? This is going to be a bit weird or a bit maybe controversial, but I'd actually start Braithwaite. I think Braithwaite has been. I think his work rate is definitely more. He works a lot. I think he hasn't been given many chances this match, and I'd start Braithwaite. I'll see how we do. Obviously, maybe if he didn't do that well, we'd sub him off within 45 minutes or the first half. Yeah, but I'd give him a chance. I haven't seen that much of him, and every time he's gone on the field, sometimes he doesn't perform, but I've seen glimpses of like what he can do. He runs behind the defenders very well. He finds possession really well. To give him those crucial balls, so I'd start him, and that would be my personal opinion. I don't know if it sits well, and obviously Betis, I think, are a team where you can never really, I don't know, they're quite consistent, especially last year, but they're a team that you can't really sleep on, and we can't really sleep on any team this year considering how we are playing. So I don't know. I think we should expect the win, but it's going to be an interesting match.
Wow. Let's say lately I've been enjoying Betis because Pellegrini took over. The results are mixed. It's, I think, 50-50 between win and losses. They've had good opponents, so that's perfectly fine. Now, the thing is, because it's Real Betis, because they play open, please give me my 4-3-3 or I will revolt or whatever. Because for me, this is finally one of the occasions where we can have the 4-3-3. First reason is because they play the 4-3-3 and the 4-2-3-1. They vary between the formations. And finally, because since it's an offensive team, I would want us to be much more offensive than we usually are. None of this horrible defense. I just want us to literally just devastate them. Just because we need this confidence. We have no choice. We need this confidence before facing Atletico on the 22nd. There's no way we cannot get this confidence. So for me, this is the key. You need really to get a good game, not only in results, but also in the players' confidence. As in for my starting 11, I'll play Dembele on the right. Reason for that is there'll be open spaces, so he's free to go. Secondly, I would rest Messi because he needs rest. Let's face it. I mean, Betis is great, but come on, you do have to rest him at some point because he has played 90 minutes every time. Come on. Then I would have Ansu on the left for obvious reasons. And I'm joining Ethan on that one. I'll give a chance to Braithwaite. The reason for that is I want to see Koeman's system with an actual 9. So far we have Ansu, he's pretty young. So let's say to Braithwaite, here you've got a team that is not the best. Show us what you can do in the 9 position. Show us if you can offer something that someone doesn't score or show. So that's my stance. If it doesn't work, you bring on Griezmann or Messi later, and you're totally fine. So that's for me. Bring Braithwaite, just give him a chance for the 45 minutes, and then judge on this. As for the midfield or the front three, for the attacking midfielder, I would have Alenia for the simple reason that I finally want to see that guy playing more than 10 minutes. Because it's common sense, let's face it. And finally, in the double pivot, I would have Pjanic coupled with Ricky. The reason for that is Pjanic has been playing fairly well, and I see Busquets, I've talked about that in the last podcast, but I see him as someone who brings stability, so I'll bring him out in the second half or the last 40 minutes, depending on the game. And therefore, I want to see how, for example, Pjanic would cope with someone like Ricky. How did you cope? Can we get a sort of mobile double pivot like Bayern's of last season, where essentially at some point we can have true interiors in Alenia and Ricky and change eventually the formation in a certain sense to a 4-3-3 in given situations. So what I want to do is essentially to not have one fixed formation and not have an absolute chaos like Koeman. I want to have a balance. So that's why I want to try something new.
All right, very interesting. For me, I would like to. I think that the main issue, the main thing that is important here is playing with 2 functioning wings. I mean, I would like to see Dest and Dembele in the right wing. I don't think that Trincao is prepared enough to start the match. And in the left wing, I would like to see Jordi Alba, of course, with Pedri or with Ansu Fati. But I would also, I don't think that Messi will rest. I don't think that it's even possible because he wants to get to this international break with him scoring an open goal. I don't see him missing this chance. And I think that he will play this match, and I think he will start it. I do see Griezmann don't start. And in that scenario, I see Ansu Fati playing as the number 9, and not Braithwaite, because I think that Koeman doesn't want him as a starter. He wouldn't want him in the team as well, but it is what it is, like someone said in the past. So I see Ansu Fati playing with Messi behind him and with Pedri in the left wing and with Dembele in the right wing. As for the midfield, I would play with Pjanic and with De Jong. And as for the defense, I would play with Dest, Piqué and Lenglet because we have no other option, and with Alba. I would also call Conrad and Arnau Comas from the Barça B to be in the bench, and I would use him. I would use Conrad in this match as a substitute. I would, of course, play with Ricky or Alenia, but just like with Braithwaite, I don't see it happening, honestly. But I will be happy if Koeman will amaze me. And that's it for now. Okay, moving on to the match predictions. This is without a buzzer. So we'll start with you, Ethan. What do you think will happen in the match?
I don't know. I think this Barcelona, you can't really predict what will happen. We're playing quite inconsistently. We have a good match against Celta Villarreal, and we haven't performed to how we performed there. I think we'll still win. I'd personally say 3-1. But again, I think Betis will score. They'll have chances because our defense is not really that great. But hopefully with the talent that we have up front, if Koeman uses his subs correctly and if he uses the players correctly, I think we should win. I'd say 3-1 to Barca.
Well, there are a few things. The first thing is I cannot predict how bad Koeman will do. That is not in the sorcery I can do. Sorry. But according to me, as I said, we need a win, and a good win, not the Koeman type of win. I mean the genius type of win. So I know I will ruin this game because every time I predict a good score, we play badly. It has happened against Alaves. It has happened against now Kiev. So once again, I will predict a 4-0. I know if we get trashed, it's normal. It's because of me. I don't care. But the point is, for me, it will be a very open game, similarly to what we had, I think, under Setien when we won 3-2 against them. I think we'll see lots of goals, but I hopefully think that at some point we will get to actually defend, because they're like not exactly doing at the best because they're in transition, considering that Pellegrini has just took over. So that's why I think we will win 4-0 by killing the match very early.
All right. Me personally, I think that I am optimistic that Barca will win this match. I mean, playing against a team that plays open football is always good for Barca, and not playing against a deep line of defense. So I think it will be a very entertaining match. I see us scoring like 4 goals, and I think that we will also concede because we're Barca and we have shitty defense. So I see 4-2 as the score. I see a score like 4-2, 4-2 win, of course. So this is what I think as the match prediction. Moving on to the final words. Each one of us will have a 1-minute monologue about a topic that he chooses. I will start with the topic that I chose, and my topic is the veteran players, the veteran defensive players that I think that they have some sort of PTSD. I think this post-trauma that they are having is very severe. And I think that we saw it actually yesterday when Piqué, Busquets, Alba, Sergio Roberto, and maybe Lenglet, of course, as well, when they play together and things are, what they say, like the groin gets rough, the play gets tougher. Again, they are thinking just like they did versus Bayern, versus Liverpool, versus Roma. Some sort of these sort of humiliations, they stay with you. They get to your head. And when they are playing together, and when a player like Gerard Piqué, who is a great winner, he won the World Cup and won anything possible. But when the tense is high, and when he's looking at the right and he sees Sergio Roberto, when he looks forward and he sees Busquets, and when he looks left and he sees Jordi Alba, it's a problem, because it brings you back to this situation, this tough situation. And I think that because of this is another topic, that our club still runs itself like a team in the 90s, while Bayern and Liverpool are having a well-paid psychologist, sports psychologist who is handling the team and the players. Barca are not doing this thing, and this is one of the problems. And they didn't treat this, I think, issues. And I believe that because of this severe problem, I think that Busquets, Piqué, Alba, and Sergio Roberto, and maybe also Lenglet, should not play together in a match in Barca, just because this is not a stable situation. They are not stable.
Yeah, so
together.
Basically my topic is on Ricky.
Moving on to Ethan.
Some reason I don't know that Coman doesn't play him. So as we saw against Dynamo Kiev, it was a side that didn't really have many of its starters due to COVID, and therefore this was, I think, a perfect chance to experiment and to try new things for the team. So personally, I was quite optimistic that players like Ricky would get minutes to play, but obviously this wasn't the case, as we saw. Players like Roberto, Trincao, and even Alenia, although he is a good player and didn't get many minutes, was still put ahead of Puig. So this makes me think that Coman might have something, I don't know, personally against Puig. Maybe he just doesn't trust him. He claims that Puig doesn't fit in the 4-2-3-1 system. However, against Dinamo, as we saw towards the end of the match, Barca actually changed system, I think, to a 4-3-3, and yet Ricky still didn't have a chance to play. Last week he was also left out of the squad due to technical reasons, so I'm quite confused as to why Ricky doesn't really get game time under Koeman. I personally think now Koeman has an issue with him, and as long as he is a manager, unfortunately I don't see Ricky getting first team minutes, and this will, as we said, as we've seen in weeks, this will decay his progression. He won't be able to get better and he'll just unfortunately rot on the bench. However, I personally don't think Koeman will be here next summer. I think that Ricky will become a starter, and I'm glad, and I just hope that's the case, and I'm still quite confused as to why Ricky doesn't play. Yeah.
So, as I said, my topic is about the defensive issues, especially concerning the pressing. So what I think is that in the beginning we saw a new sort of pressing, which is more man-oriented, and it looked well. But I do think that yesterday's match actually showed at best the weakness of this pressing system. And that is essentially when we were attacking and we lost the ball in their half. More, especially in the second half, we saw Kiev just running over 4 or 5 pressing players in a matter of seconds. Now this to me is worrying, not only because it's the C team, but because it's not the first time we've seen this. We've seen so many times just our players getting overrun and simply conceding very simple counter-attacks. It's not rocket science, it's very simple attacks that should be held. And the problem is, Koeman's so-called pressing doesn't work with players who are not in the physical sense or athletically sense. They're not. They don't have the speed in order to actually enforce this sort of pressing. It looks to me as Koeman is basically has chosen a pressing system, and he sees it doesn't work, but still continues because he likes that, which is a reason I ignore. And I think that perhaps there was an error in the pressing, because when you see Koeman shouting, especially you could see Koeman shouting not only when we lack the chances, but also when we're pressing. You could see Koeman very unhappy. So I think that there may be an issue between Koeman and the players concerning the pressing, because I do think that you cannot sustain yourself like that. When you're getting overrun by Dynamo, it won't get better against Liverpool or Bayern. So for me, the biggest area where we actually need to improve, bar the midfield, is the pressing.
Yeah, sure, I totally agree. So that's it for now as for our topics.
Yeah.
I personally had a lot of fun. I think that we had a great talk today. And we will talk in the next episode that will come soon enough. I would like to thank both of you, Ethan and Kai, for a great talk.
Bye-bye.
And see you the next time. Thank you very much.